Namaste. So we'll take up this question: Ayurveda and allopathy and how to combine them. Any system which, if you want to combine, and it's a axiomatic truth of life. I mean, even let's say political systems, if you want to combine, different people you want to combine. So you have to go back to the origin. The practice itself is the end result. So if you go back to the origin, then you will find not only how to combine, but you'll take the next step, which is about the evolution of all these systems. They've reached a point and they've stagnated. So if we go back to the origin of illness, why does illness take place? So whether because of something from outside entering into the system or within the system, there is a want of harmony. Normally, the human body is functioning in a harmonious way. You don't have to tell it. You don't need to tell the liver and the heart to beat this way. They're all in a beautiful synchrony. Mind, heart, thoughts, feelings, human body, it's working in a very nice, harmonious way. But then this harmony gets disrupted for various reasons. And once the harmony is disrupted, the body tries to heal it. It first creates what is known as unease. Now, in Ayurveda, you have the concept of unease. In allopathy, you have disease. So, if you don't listen to this unease, people feel it. Many times, I have seen people who somewhere feel that I was not feeling too well, and if you check them, everything is fine outwardly. So, allopathy is a cruder science dealing with the gross manifestation. Ayurveda is a subtler science dealing with the subtle manifestation of illness. This is the first thing we need to understand. Even homeopathy deals with the subtle energies. Now, once we understand it's a disharmony, then different systems have emerged to set right that harmony. So, there is a way that allopathy approaches in setting right the harmony. There is a way that Ayurveda approaches, and there is a way homeopathy approaches, there is a way that yogic practices approach. So let's just quickly touch upon how each of them approach. So homeopathy picks up the disharmony at the energy level. Before you have the gross manifestation, you have imbalances of energy, and this imbalance manifests through the entire constitutional makeup of a person. Your sleep, your food pattern, everything. So homeopathy works like this, that it takes an entire history. Things which may appear irrelevant to the immediate problem, but they are relevant because you pick up where all the imbalances are going on. And it addresses accordingly through homeopathic medicine, which are supposed to set that right. Then another line of advance is Ayurveda. How does Ayurveda work? It says, well, imbalances have occurred, disharmonies occurred, and it also describes different. Ayurveda speaks about adverse forces. It speaks about, Bhautik, Adhibhautik, Adidevik, and Adhyatmik. There are different levels at which the disharmony takes place. But the end point is the human body. It has to fight it out. So Ayurveda's way is that how can you help the body? Body is trying to regain the harmony, but it needs help and support. If you allow it time, if you allow it some way to reset its balance, it will reset the balance. So Ayurveda works towards primarily strengthening the body's own mechanisms. For instance, immune system. So Ayurveda will not, this corona, treat the medicine, but you have the immune system, which nowadays we talk about as the most important single factor. Just like stress is the most important single factor in diseases. So immune system is the most important single factor in a number of illnesses. So it works towards boosting the immune system. It has its own method. I'm not going into details of how the medicines work. Allopathy works at the crudest level. There is a problem, the heart is not beating well, you can use medicine, you can make the heart beat better. Or if there is a tumor, you operate and remove it. The problem there is because allopathy is not addressing the subtler problem, pattern. Therefore, it will tend to come back. It's like hospitalizing a person who is let's say, an alcohol or smoke addict, and after 3 weeks or 4 weeks, you let him free. Now, he will be fine, but because the pattern remains the same, his nature has not changed, his lifestyle is not changed, so there is a tendency for him to come back. So allopathy, that's why you will see in allopathy medicines, when you use them, there's hardly this word cure should not be applied. Cure would be okay, I take diabetes or blood pressure medicine and I'm fine for good. Now, even in Ayurveda, this has seeped in because of the strong influence of allopathy. But ideally, you should have cure would be that I have taken the medicine, now my imbalance is corrected, and therefore I am fine. I don't need anything external. Because your body can heal yourself. And one of the problem with allopathy is that not only it does not correct the fundamental imbalance, so you have to keep taking it. You have to continue. I'm talking of most of the illnesses. Cough, cold is self-healing. Don't give too much credit to antibiotics and all. This is a self-healing process. But it makes you lose faith in your own natural abilities to heal. This is my problem with allopathy. I'm not saying you shouldn't use it. You need to use it. Now you can't suddenly one day hear a talk and say, okay, I'm going to throw caution to the winds. No. Now our body has lost that ability. But if you go back to, as I said, I was recounting the story of Lalita. There was no allopathy at that point of time. How is it that a person who was disfigured and partly dismembered, how could he be cured? And it's noted by a historian. Kalan is one of the wonderful historians in Rastarangini. We have our own account in the Mahabharata. How people used to apply certain lap and heal the wounds. So there was a method which we have lost. But now, allopathic way is you keep that imbalance under check. But because the basic problem is not gone, so it tends to erupt. It's like terrorism. You can keep it under check by force. But the basic thing which has given rise to it, I'm not saying basic thing is political problem. Basic thing is consciousness, human nature. So unless you correct that, it will keep erupting. Therefore, in allopathy, you will see that normally, most of the time, you have to keep on increasing the medication or change it, add stepwise, all these things. I'm taking an example of blood pressure or diabetes. Whereas, if you change the person's, inner self or inner being, then you will see that the medicine dosage comes down drastically. And maybe one can get rid of it if you correct it completely. So similarly, yoga cures, the true yoga cures, not just the asanas. And even I may use the words true spiritual cure. They can correct it at the most fundamental level because that's the origin. Origin is spiritual, material is the manifestation. So not only they can be combined, they should be combined. So if you ask me how to combine, allopathy is for emergencies. Because you don't have time for the body to pick up, and particularly a body which has been misused and abused and God knows what. So even if you don't want to abuse the body, they like passive smoking. People smoke. There is so much psychological poison in the atmosphere. You can't shut yourself in the ivory wall. So anyways, this human body in today's times is when people have lost the dharmic way of life, when they have lost their various values, which I'm not just talking of moral values, but way of life. For instance, when we were children in India, many of us have seen our parents get up with, as the sun is rising, a little before that, they would take a bath, do their prayers, puja. They had certain things to be followed. No, if you're given a promise, you must keep it. These were things, truthfulness, honesty. These were taught to us, faith in God. Now, all that we have lost. So, given our present situation, if you are struck with an emergency, you need to fall back upon allopathy. So don't just take it that, though it is, in my view, the most inferior system, yet because as I said, for the reasons, it doesn't correct the fundamental problem, yet you need it. If there is a heart attack, though I know instances that people have been fine. Even here in our Desiree, I had an instance where somebody had a heart attack at the age of 90 and he said, I don't want to go anywhere. I want to be here and whatever you want to do it here. And so I spoke to the relatives. Of course, people who are living here. Maa ka naam leke, as they say, taking mother's name, whatever I could do. Hardly anything you can do, on his bed. And he came out of it, recovered completely. So later on he left his body for different reason altogether. So there are, I am aware of instances when people still had faith, when their body was open to divine intervention. How it was open? By an act of faith. For instance, when we were children, our parents would, if we fell sick, to pray to God and believe that God will correct him. Now, because of this Descartian model and dualistic schools of thought, oh, God is in his own world and body needs something material. So we have lost that natural faith in the healing processes of or intervention. If you talk about prayer, you are regarded as somebody who are outdated. Though things are changing now, that's a different story. And praying to God and healing is not just a miracle. There is a process to it. What is God? God is the supreme, and you want to put it, the supreme being. And supreme being with supreme consciousness, supreme power, supreme knowledge. So it's like that all-knowing, all-powerful state or being. Now, when you connect, it can set everything right in the body because body itself has emerged from that. So you can understand it very scientifically. The ways and means. So when people invoke the sun, they put natural therapies where they put different colored bottles under the sun and then they drank the water. All this was part of it. Or mud bath. All these aspects, if you go to the roots, is very fascinating. That if you do that, then if you do it with the real understanding, then it can have a very strong power to build up your own immunity and aid the healing process. But man has lost faith in today's age because we are living so much with analysis that there is, as if analytical mind will tell you everything. And therefore allopathy reigns supreme, and also there is mafia. So we saw recently that case against Patanjali product. Now I am not a big fan either of Babaji or anybody, but I must say that it was a very clearly motivated case, because Indian Medical Association itself endorses products which are cosmetic, which are not really the way the marketing takes place in the Indian pharma industry. Being a doctor, I can say that it's very clear advertisement. Who funds doctors when they go for IMA conferences? They put up in 5-star hotels and food is arranged by the pharma company. So clearly they are making money. Wherever you are making money, you can't be honest and truthful. Doctors would be paid who will write reports and everything is bought over. So the problem there was that when you target particularly one particular Ayurveda, you are trying to finish, and that's how allopathy emerged. I'm forgetting the name. Was it Rockefeller or Institute, where it was done primarily to kill indigenous system and make money. So at the root of it was money, not a sincere quest for healing the human condition. So suddenly, because of that, now they connected to Hippocrates and Galen and Leech, etc. But that was not really allopathy in the real sense. And yes, there have been some fantastic discoveries like penicillin and some others. So that's how allopathy works on the very crude layers of a being. So if your system is in a state where it is totally nearing shutdown and you want to prolong a few more years of life, use it. Also because in the Western context, they don't have the, this idea of rebirth. So aggressive emergency treatment, prolonging life, because this is the only life you have. But in the Indian context, beyond a point, if the body did not pick up, it was understood that, well, time has come for transition and we prepared for the transition from this life to another. So aggressive treatments like ventilators and all this, which we all know, largely prolong life, unless, yes, there is a young person who sometimes is put for a short period. So there is so much that Ayurveda has to offer. It's a Veda, incidentally, and this Veda was received by Rishi Bharadwaj and many others who wanted to find ways and means. See what went into the root of Ayurveda and what went into allopathy. Allopathy in this modern form is a purely market, money driven. That's why to believe much in it, now they talk about, Covishield vaccine, all this is coming out. How did Ayurveda originate? In Ayurveda, the aspiration was that human beings are having short life in this age of Kali. So I don't know what was there before that. Probably yogic means and some lap and all that. So the seers, 60 seers, gather on some mountain and they pray to Indra that you have eyes all over, you have the global consciousness. tell us ways and means by which the human beings can prolong their life and enjoy life. So this enjoyment was not what we understand, but the joy of life. Because behind, in the Vedas say, this world is meant for delight. But you can't experience even a normal joy if you are sick. So how that delight can be increased? That's why they talk about the soma. They talk about ananda, the elixir of immortality. So it was meant to enhance delight in a human being, and if the delight is enhanced, he'll take care of the rest. This is another principle of Ayurveda. And that now we talk about it, that if you are depressed, you are more prone to illness. If you are basically happy, you can drive away many illnesses. So if you increase the delight of being, so Ayurveda was how we can increase the delight of being, so that human beings can live longer and they can be happy. This is the quest. The quest was not label diseases and treat it. Because if you touch at that basic level, delight does not differentiate. You have a common cold or you have a tumor inside. It will act because it's the fundamental stuff of existence. It's the remedy. The remedy is Ananda, because Ananda is the originator of creation. So this is how it starts, and then of course there is the colloquy and they discover many herbs and etc. etc. So, but Ayurveda must rediscover itself. I must say that. Just like Sri Aurobindo says, Indian yoga has a lot to offer in the future. But it must first rediscover itself. So I think Ayurveda has not yet made serious effort to discover itself. And this idea of using Ayurvedic pills for this problem, that problem, is not what truly Ayurveda is. Ayurveda means to, and it's not just about doing research. That's a very secondary part. I don't believe the way researches are done, that's a different subject altogether. But it must take on from where it has left. For instance, just to narrate one instance, Sushen is a Vaidya who is the top man, healer in Lanka as well as Kishkinda. He is so famous. So when Lakshman has this Shakti Band, so he is called. So see the code of conduct. He is called and he comes. We didn't learn code of conduct from Hippocrates. Sushen comes, is there integrated in the story of Ramayana. So he comes and he tells him that you have to bring so and so Jadi Booty, and anyways Hanuman brings it. But they want to immediately administer, oh, medicine has come, give it. But what does he say? He says, no, you can't do it like that. You have to pray and invoke the healing powers in the herb. Meaning thereby, matter is only a medium. It has a potential, but you have to yet activate it, and that is an act of consciousness. So even in allopathic medicine, very often, and there are some people who come to a dispensary and say, we feel that it's mother's dispensary, it's like a prasad. And I tell them, keep the medicine near whatever God you worship, pray and then take it. Because healing power, Dravya Gun is there. It will have an effect. But when you pray, then that Dravya is used by a higher consciousness and made it far more potential. That's where we talk about placebo effect. But placebo effect is a very ill-understood phenomena. If you do it with that faith inside, faith in your destiny, faith in the medicine you are taking, faith in the doctor, and above all, faith in the divine. And then when you take it, then it has a different effect. So Ayurveda has to recover all this. It doesn't practice that. They have some nice medicines now for immunity, but there is a lot more work which is to be done. Okay, this is in short is the difference between the different systems, particularly Ayurveda and allopathy. Namaste.